Hello, and welcome to Not Mouthy the Podcast, which is what you probably know me from. Mouthy the Podcast is where I talk about children's media and is it really for children, and I review films that kind of have a family friendly, intended for the ages of 18 and under. But I wanted to take some time and kind of do this cool thing. I've been doing it with music videos for a while, but nobody cares, so that's fair. Whatever. You care about what you care about, and you like what you like. But I wanted to kind of try my same principle, but maybe turn it to movies. Also, it will trigger the algorithm, which is what I'm truly after, that money. Anyway, so these film reviews are just going to kind of be me discussing this film and kind of picking bits and pieces that I've already recorded from my life and seeing how it fits together and kind of making this film art inspired by this movie while I make a commentary over it. So if you guys like it, give it a thumbs up and comment, and let's talk about the film. And if you want to be a guest on this portion of it, sure, let's do it. Why not? In honor of the pandemic still going, even though we've been slowly, honestly, through half of 2020, we just stopped. I feel like believing that there was a pandemic, some of us believing in the severity of COVID. So I decided that it was the perfect time to review Repo, the genetic opera. I was actually introduced to this by my ex, who hates me, but he was the first man I ever lived together with. This was before we lived together that we watched Repo, and he kind of showed it to me, and it blew my freaking mind. And I think I've decided since then that I am always pro rock opera, that I would like to write a rock opera of my own, and I'm working on it. Very hard to write a musical by yourself, so if anybody has musical knowledge, please help me. But anyway, so Repo is also about an epidemic, kind of like a pandemic, but basically a bunch of organ failures are happening and millions die. And it kind of presents this in like a comic book form. It's pretty cool. You should just check out the openings yourself. I try to make these reviews where there's new things to think about, but also not enough spoilers for you to actually not watch it. You should watch these films. Support the industry. Anyway, if you can't afford a transplant, you die. And so GeneCo came up with organ financing. And so now you can cheat death for low payment plans. It's like after paying hospitals, which I kind of hope they do. Making medical care affordable like that would be amazing, instead of being pay us this lump sum as soon as you can. Yeah. And then, because it was so easy to finance, surgery kind of became a fashion statement. I guess the cons of making things accessible is that people are going to accessibly use them. Oh my goodness, what a terrible thing, people using things. So then there became this drug Zydrate. I'm not even sure I'm saying it right, but it sounds cool when they sing it. And basically there's these people who are grave robbers that sell the extracted drug from the dead. It's really creepy. I don't really super understand all the Zydrate stuff. I missed it, but I didn't go to Harvard or any other smart school and only have an associate's degree, so maybe I'm just dumb, or maybe it just went by too fast and I'm also taking notes. But yeah, basically they sell this drug extracted from the dead, and it seems to kind of be like heroin. I wouldn't really know because I've never really super even done heroin, but whatever. So then, if you can't finance, they're gonna repossess your organs, and then GeneCo end up being this most powerful family because of that, and they have this scary Repo man who is 6'6", if all you ladies out there like tall guys, and he reclaims organs. He'll just rip them from the chest. They're not gonna phone you, they're just gonna take back what you owe. Welcome to our lovely world. Anyway, we then see a clip of this where a girl is trying to escape, and it doesn't go very well because she gets repossessed with her organs, and it's pretty gruesome. It's not super saw gory, but it leaves an impact. It's definitely they're ripping organs from your chest, there's an impact. It's kind of campy. The grave robber in this, I think, was actually part of the original cast because this was an opera, a staged opera, before it was into a movie. I love that it was made into a movie. Anything is possible. Follow your dreams. But the grave robber guy who sings, he's got this low baritone, he's very, very good. I should know his name, and I don't, and I'm sorry. But you are a very good grave robber guy. And what's interesting about this world of Repo is that it's very apocalyptic, very steampunky. The city is all smoggy. Kind of seems like we're at the tail end of global warming, or climate change, as we are now calling it. The CGI, considering that this movie is probably relatively low budget, it's pretty good, the CGI. They have, like, blimps flying with TVs around, so good thing to know that even in the decaying, apocalyptic, ashen world, blimps are not going to go out of style. If anything, they are even better than they are now. Then the, like, leader of Jinko is actually kind of cool with his bodyguards. He's not very sexist. He's not hiring, like, these big, bulky men. He's hiring these two twin blonde assassins. We don't really know their story, but I support them and kind of want to be them. So, Ronnie Largo has a disease. He's the head of Jinko. And the doctor who told him that he is dying gets shot in the head, which is amazing. So good to know. Maybe this is why medical people charge so much, because people, they have to give bad news to all these people all the time, and you never know what could happen. You could get your also bad news on giving bad news, is that the person you're giving bad news to kills you. So yeah, I'm very glad I'm not a doctor. The music in Repo is also fantastic. I will definitely be covering all of these songs. Even if you don't want me to, you will have to hear me sing them because I'm obsessed. So then we meet Shiloh, who is in a crypt, and she takes off this, like, gas mask because she's looking at her mom's grave, and she's trying to catch bugs because that's her cool thing as a girl. She's like, there's a proper word for it, and I don't know it, and I'm sorry because it deserves to be known, because it's actually kind of badass to catch, like, interesting bugs. Then they kind of go into the world a little bit more, and they talk about how the industrial industry crippled the globe and nature failed as tech began to spread, which is sort of what's going on here now. I feel like tech is definitely spreading, but I've been seeing a lot of sustainable stuff and people taking it seriously, so I'm very optimistic, and I think that what you believe in your thoughts really has an effect. So if everyone believes that the world is over before it's actually over, we're gonna miss the preventive action that we could have taken. So basically, the graveyard robber is kind of singing and filling us in about these details of the world, and he talks about how the entire city is built on top of the dead. And that's what I always think about, is like, how many dead people am I walking over? Because this earth has been around forever. We are walking on the bones of probably, like, many, many people. Not everybody was given a proper funeral, unfortunately. And then I love this. It's actually a great business tip as well as a great lyric in the line of the song. But they're like, for every market, a sub-market goes. And people, basically Jinko police people, because I guess they are pretty much the government now since they own everybody with the organs, they're looking for grave robbers because they don't want them to sell drugs. I don't really know why. Maybe it messes with the surgeries. Maybe it makes people not be able to afford them to pay back. I don't really understand the significant impact of the drug market, but I guess, like, the government wants every cent they can get. And to get this drug, it has to be injected from the nose, which is interesting. It's basically snot. Man, the things we put into our body, right? But people like it because it's quick, clean, and pure, and it will change your life, rest assured. It's the 21st century cure. And then, even though the grave robbers are being hunted, this grave robber don't give a damn, because he basically, like, does this, like, screamo rage howl to get attention, even though the consequence is being executed on sight. Yikes. And Shiloh even hears the warning of that, and then she has a blood pressure alarm that her blood pressure is low, and it's like, medicate immediately, which is disconcerting. And then she ends up seeing the Repo Mad, and then just wakes up in the house. And what we don't know about Shiloh, which I always forget, She's also Carmen from Spy Kids, if you love that stuff, because I love every bit of this casting. All the casting choices, amazing. Paris Hilton's in this movie. It's fire. It's absolute fire. But anyway, so she believes that she was attacked with the Repo Man, but we kind of don't know if this is a dream, since she's not really allowed outside. I'm going to go ahead and assume that this was all a dream sequence, that she didn't leave, or maybe I think, though, the way I've originally seen it, I think that she has left her room and her dad caught her, and then is just going to pretend that he didn't. But we'll get into that, because how would her dad catch her? The Repo Man is the one who she last saw before she passed out. But anyway, so then we find out that Shiloh is bald because she's very sick and she missed her medicine. Because she's got this terrible blood disease that her mom had. I kind of hate the hair choice they wanted her to have. It's like really long black hair. It's definitely very Silent Hilly, but I don't know. I kind of feel like she would have short hair, but I guess her dad is buying the wigs and wants her to look like her mom because things are really messed up in this world. Anyway, then we see him put something blue in the water, but I'm sure it's good because he's a father and he's a doctor, so why would he be doing anything bad? And then she sings Infected, and oh my god, my boyfriend hates the song Affected, but I love this song. As a person whose mom was mentally ill, and a person whose genetics are just like absolutely trash, I will not be donating my eggs to any poor family because, oh my goodness, they would be cursed in the genetic marvel that is me. I don't know if it's because my mom and my dad weren't supposed to be together and that I was an accident, or if it's just because I was told I was an accident, but my genes decided to be this way, but it's rough. Anyway, I think Infected is a great fucking jam. And, it's just angry, and it's kind of about, like, her mom is dead, but she feels this anger of, like, so I've got to live and be sick, too, because of the disease that you gave me through genetics, and this kind of, like, being unable to control your own fate and being so limited from the life that you could lead. And like poor Shiloh, like her whole bed, she's got this queen canopy bed and it's just like covered in plastic, and there's so many like cool little touches like that in this movie that really build the world. And it is a very rockin' album. If you are emo, you should love Repo for sure. Emo or goth, it's great. It's a great cult movie. So Shiloh does like taxidermy, and she collects bugs, which is pretty cool. And she is basically, for the most part, locked in her room, so I don't really know if she sneaks out a bunch. I'm assuming she has to for all of these bugs. But she's inherited the shame of being diseased. She doesn't have any friends but her dad. It's pretty sad. Their house is really cool, though. At least you could be trapped in worse places. I think that's for sure. And then we kind of get a flashback scene where 17 years ago, Nathan and Marnie had a happy, perfect life. Nathan and Marnie are Shiloh's parents, in case you didn't know. And then poor Marnie gets sick because her eyes bleed, which is like a side effect for the medication. Except, Marnie is pregnant and only one can be saved. And so Nathan saves Shiloh, their daughter. Ugh, what a tough decision. I'm assuming abortion was not on the table and not an option that they wanted to take. And then it's hard because it's like there's this like really cool shot too of Nathan getting blood on his shirt with the baby, and then is like, but his wife's dead. And then he has this like shrine to his wife, which is a little weird, but maybe sweet. Maybe I could see a lot of girls out there wanting their own shrine. Like, do you even really love me if you don't have a shrine to me dedicated if I died? But I was also raised very Christian, so false idols, it's a little weird to me. It's a little weird. We just didn't have that stuff, even though we have a cross with Jesus on it, which is essentially like an idol in an altar. I don't know. Hypocrisy. Anyway, so Nathan kind of sees all of these flashbacks of Marnie coughing blood, and the comics are like, this is all told by like kind of like a comic book way, and it's really cool. I love like comic book stuff. I wish they would just do more animated comic book things where it's just like panels where you read. I would watch that more rather than buying comic books because I already own too many books and I'd like to kill less trees. Well, I always wonder if like the electricity that we use for TV, if that's not even more damaging or not. But anyway, they've got all these like cool holographic pictures of Marnie, and it's really neat. I would love to get like a holographic portrait like that. It's probably like $10,000, so I will not be getting a holographic portrait unless you guys donate it. And donation links are down below. And I realized there's like a picture of Shiloh when she was little, and she basically looks like Wednesday Addams, and I wonder if that was kind of like the inspiration for her since the like really long black hair. All of the wallpaper is weird. It's like weirdly Victorian, but it also works. It's a super cool house, like I said. And then we find out that Nathan has like a Scooby-Doo fireplace, like it switches over. We used to have like kind of like a bookshelf that led up to the attic like that in my like house where I was a teenager. And there's like nice fog machine use here. And then we see that there's a man strapped down into this kind of like gurney wheelchair thing. And then it's the twist is that Shiloh's dad is the Repo Man, which just kind of has like a bad guy cartoon voice. It's pretty good. So now let's talk about Paris Hilton's tits. The note I wrote down is from that like Nicki Minaj meme where it goes, "Damn your bobbies." I don't know if you know that, but one of my favorite memes because it's so timeless and quintessential. Then we have Pavi, which is the scariest brother on earth. He's like a Michael Jackson plastic surgery horror film. He's awful. And then we have Luigi, who is like an Italian who wants to fuck, which is like every boy I went to high school with, to be honest. And there are so many sound effects during his like little verse in their like introduction where he's like, "I will find a hole and fuck it." There's like boing noises. They went like crazy in the sound department effect. They were like, "This is our chance to shine and we are going to take it." And then he like gets blood on his shirt, which is kind of cool. I'm always for the blood on the shirt aesthetic. Maybe I'm very creepy because he cuts open this like dancer nurse, very a la Silent Hill too. Clearly, I'm obsessed with Silent Hill. I feel like I've never left. Yeah, the weird harmony in the song is so cool. It's like I think the song's called "Mark It Up." Oh, so good. I love. There's very few bad songs in here, and even if they're like, I mean, they're not like masterpieces by any means. Well, I don't know. I think some of them are masterpieces, but oh, so good. Then we learn about Blind Mag, who queen, goddess, icon, Blind Mag, and she meets Shiloh, I think, because Roddy has taken her in because he kind of is trying to set up this plan to fuck over his own children. And she tells Shiloh that her mother was very dear to her, and like helped her find the cure for her eyes. And then they do another like comic thing, which is so cool. Such a good. More shows should do this. More movies should do this, where it's like, here's the backstory, but it's all in comics because it's in the past. It obviously wouldn't work for everything, but it really works for this, and it's nice. So this is Marnie and Roddy's story. So Roddy saw an opportunity to get even because he was mad that Marnie was going for Nathan, because I guess they used to date first, so he's bitter and jealous. We've all been there. We've all been that Roddy ex at one point in our life, haven't we? But then we learned from our toxic behaviors, and this old white man didn't. Anyway, so Roddy sneaks into the lab to poison, and he ends up poisoning Marty, which is messed up. I think he meant to poison Nathan originally, or maybe it was just Marnie because he knew that would hurt Nathan more than to be the one who dies. Although it was kind of dumb on his part because if maybe Nathan died, Roddy could have ended up getting with Marnie, but maybe then he was scared that she would find out and then would never like him, like it goes on most shows, but who knows. But anyway, Roddy is like just really disappointed because his legacy is disgraceful. Well, his children are characters, but they're pretty epic characters. I would be privileged to play any parts such as his three children. Very, very fun. But he's very bitter, and he is a great, great song. Honestly, reminds me of my granddad. Hello, Papa. This one's for you. But yeah, I kind of believe that she didn't go with him because Roddy is kind of ugly, because it's kind of like that Roald Dahl quote, because Roddy has so many negative thoughts, he has just ended up being an ugly person. But he believes that Marty forced his hand. But it's like, no, dude, I don't think anybody forced you to poison them. That's a really hard case to make in court, if you don't mind me saying. But anyway, Roddy wants to go up with a bang because he cured the globe, but he can't stop his own extinction. So he takes Shiloh, who he sees as like a young talent blooming, and they go for a limo ride. And she like doesn't want to go on this limo ride, so he essentially kidnapped her because she's only 17. But whatever, we'll just brush aside that. It's the apocalyptic world. None of these things matter, like children's safety, unfortunately. And she is like, I can't be outside, I have a blood disease. And Roddy's like, well, I have an antidote. And he's like, you could be the poster child of progress, and I'll give you the cure, and then you could see this damaged world. You could meet Blind Mag, and your dad doesn't even have to know. And she's like, my dad will worry. And I don't know. I mean, her dad will worry about her, but meanwhile, he's just like being very frightening in the Repo mask. And this is where it's kind of like he has a personality disorder, like his trauma manifested in this personality disorder, which is the Repo. And he like does this whole like puppet thing where, my uncle would, it just reminds me of a song that my uncle would like, because this is my uncle's type of humor, where he like literally is like slicing this guy to get his organs and then like puppets him. And it is like weird, darkly funny and entertaining. But yeah, it's super, super cool. But anyway, Roddy is being like, I want you, Shiloh. He introduces her to Blind Mag, who is very, very stylish. And she's got these digital corneas, which I feel super cheated out because I only got a dead guy's cornea and my eyes do not project anything. And I think that would be pretty cool, like a cool trick to do at parties. And be like, yeah, I'm blind in my left eye, but guess what I can do? And I'm like, got this like robo eye, or mad eye, moody eye. I'm just like really disappointed, but maybe science will catch up to me one day. I can only hope. And obviously, not everybody has to have the cool projection eye if they don't want to, but I have a hard time seeing anybody who wouldn't want a projection eye, but maybe that's because I have one bad eye. But anyway, so Mag is the voice of Jinko, and she's tells Shiloh that she can help her sing like her, because she's a great singer, because it's Sarah Silverman or whatever, or Sarah Brightman. I always get those two mixed up, but that's terrible. But anyway, they talk about how I think Pavi can like unhook his face, and he's got this like bloody face underneath, and he just like hooks different faces on. It's really, really creepy. I would not want to be able to do that. If I'm gonna hook a face on, I want to cover the whole thing, not have like little bloody patches around my face. But epic Halloween costume for sure, if you're looking for ideas. Yeah, anyway, Blind Mag is like super hot. Also a great costume ideas. And Paris Hilton, who is Amber Singh in this, is mad that Mag has this kind of spotlight. And so then we get to see Mag's story, which is also in the cool comic book thing again, and we learn that she was Marnie's BFF, and that Roddy took care of her eyes because she was friends with like the girl he loved because she was blind, and he helped Mag see. So she had seemed like she had the perfect life, right? She had her sight back, she had fame, but the contract that she signed was signed in blood, and that it can only serve only one person, and that person was Roddy. So she belongs to Jinko, but they're doing this whole bit where she is leaving, but Roddy knows that he's not gonna let her leave. He's not, because he owns her, because he gave her organs, which is so terrible. I hope no doctors like think like this. Then we have this great bit of tension where Shiloh is like out and about when she's not supposed to be, and her dad is being the repo man and slicing somebody, but he has the medicine reminder, and he's like, Shiloh, you need to take that, and they kind of like hide it from each other. It's such a cool scene. You should watch it. He like even covers that the patient screaming is just like a patient that needs him, so I mean, I've definitely screamed at my dentist, unfortunately. Don't really like my mouth being messed with, but it's only partially their fault, but a whole other story. Anyway, then the grave robber helps her get home because she's got to take her medicine, and he ends up getting caught, but Shiloh ends up learning that Amber is hooked on Zydrate, and she's had her first surgery at 13. The song is weirdly catchy and very cool. The like dance in here is nice. It's a very well done like drug metaphor and kind of how I feel like drugs feel. Not that I am encouraging doing drugs. Do not do drugs. Life is so much better if you don't. But I understand that sometimes you gotta figure out some things for yourself, but be safe and have a plan. But this song is very, like, there's a lot of sex in the song. It's kind of, which I think like drugs and sex are very similar feelings, especially if you're taking the right drugs. But Grave Robber points out to Shiloh that Mag's contract has fine print, and she's in a mighty fine predicament. If she ups and switch, she forfeits, and the Repo Man is gonna come and want her eyes back because of the pay for surgery. Even though I don't understand how she's even in this contract, because wouldn't she have paid them back by making all of these millions for them? Very weird. So then the grave robber, kisses her goodbye. He is strangely handsome, but she is underage. Anyway, so then her dad, she's cutting it real close, comes in to check on Shy, and she pretends that she is sleeping even though she's awake. And then he goes to Roddy, who is with his children's, and they make this great joke because they're like, who ordered pizza? I could go for a slice, and he's like slicing people up. I'm assuming it's Luigi because he's the one that's like usually very physically violent. And Amber sings is so pissed that Mag calls her a has-been soprano. And so they say that, Mag has Jinko's eyes. So you, Mr. Repo Man, Shiloh's dad, Giles from Buffy, you have to kill Marnie's best friend. And this breaks my freaking heart, you guys. And he's like, I can't do that job. And they're like, remember who you are. Remember what you did to Marnie. And this song is so good. It's got like some Lion King vibes. It is so. It's just a really, really cool song. Probably my second favorite. And poor Giles has to just relive that he has murdered his wife, or that he believes that he's murdered his wife, because really the person that he's helping is the one who murdered his wife and has like tricked him into believing it. And it's just psychological torture, and it's just awful what some terrible white men in power do. 100% awful. And they were like, hey, we made the agreement so that Shiloh never knows, and we've kept her from knowing, and so that his repo life is a secret. And he's then in the repo costume, and then when he does that, dear Marty, I'm so sorry, can you please forgive me for this? Oh, it's so heartbreaking and sad. And they just like remind him that he is the night surgeon, and they just watch him while this guy freaks out, watch him like kill this guy like it's a sport. And then like cool badass nurse bodyguards, I love that they're not like biased and that the bodyguards are automatically male, but they're like adding onto the pressure with this like do up, and you can just see his struggle. And then he like has this split personality disorder again, where he's like, I remember and I dismembered. It's freaking scary, and they're like cheering him on to become this terrible person. And this man is just struggling. There's like blood on his face, and he's like, you know what, I can't do this job, find someone else. And Roddy's all pissed. He's like, what? No one walks away from me, but fucking Giles did. And then Roddy vows that he will take him out, because how dare he say no? Roddy is the worst kind of man. Every man should be able to graciously take a no. Every person should. It's gonna happen in your life. You are not, there's no life realistically where you're gonna get yes all the time. And sometimes no's are for your own good. Anyway, so blind Mag in a veil, this goth couture for sure. It's just amazing. She even brings her own bodyguard because I guess she probably knows that she's about to be assassinated. Anyway, she rings Shiloh's doorbell and wants to speak to her because she's like, you look just like your mom. And she was like, I was told that you died with her. I'm your godmom. And she's like, I want to meet you, because Shiloh's kind of like on the defensive, probably because she just realized that all like the Jinko people are crazy. So does she trust Mag or not? Mag basically wants to teach Shiloh everything that she didn't learn. And she says that we have a common bond, that we were both kept in sort of a bondage. And Shiloh lets her in even though it's a big risk, and Mag thanks her for this. And then she shows her mom giving her advice to say chase the morning, which the project is so cool. And she says that her eyes can do more than see. And Shiloh says that she does already know because she's actually seen her
sing from the window where she can see the world from there, and she can see like stars and constellations. It's a really good window, you guys. And Mag kind of reminisces and is sad that they couldn't watch the world together. And the dance directing here is really cool. And Mag just says that Shiloh's life should be a dream and that she should have integrity and honesty and that it's too late for her. But it's such beautiful advice, and I think this is my favorite song, honestly. It's kind of makes my soul want to cry because it's so beautiful. And then they show this, like, they've been showing this Marnie ghost, and it's really sad because Shiloh's probably never really heard Marnie's voice, and like for the first time she can hear it through Mag. And then Nathan shows up, and then he sees that Mag is there. And he kind of tries to get her out, and he's like, well, you got a show tonight, wouldn't you be very busy? And she just comments on that Nathan was never a man of many words. And she's pissed at him because she's like, you told me that Shiloh died. And she's like, I promised your late wife that I'd be present in her life. And Nathan is like, she's just very ill. It's not safe for her to see people. And then Shiloh begs her dad. This is also another really good song, probably my third favorite song because it's just got a great like 3-point harmony, and it just is so much good tension. Anyway, Shiloh begs her dad to let Mag stay in here and hide, and Nathan's pissed and is trying to rush Mag out the door. And then Mag is like, you're hurting me. And he's like, sorry, my daughter needs rest. And Shiloh keeps arguing, like, the Repo Man is dangerous. Oh. And it's like, that it's not safe. Because it's her dad. It doesn't even know. It's just so much struggle. And Shiloh tries to explain that the contract is really bad. And Nathan is just not listening. He already knows, honestly. And it's just probably like, this is getting too close. These worlds are going to collide at any freaking minute. And is also like, wait, where did you get this contract? And you know what, we should just leave it alone. And Shiloh was like begging her. He's like, she's gonna die. Blind Mag is gonna literally die. And then Shiloh just kind of has this moment where she realizes that her dad is a shitty person. And her dad kind of argues with her view of him and says, listen, you just need to accept that, like, nothing ever lasts in this world because he is so caught up in his trauma, which I get it. He thinks he killed the person he loved most. That'll definitely do things to your psyche. But he's like, listen, the world has destroyed me, a grown man. What chances do you have? And then there's this kind of Joan Jett song that my boyfriend actually did like. And she's like, well, you know what? There might be no sense in foolish dreaming, but I'm 17, at least that's better than 40. And she's like, throws this tantrum, and it becomes like a rock concert. And she's acting utterly wild, but it's super sick. It's kind of almost like a puberty metaphor, too, of her like just sticking up, and she says like this thing of like, something's changing, I can feel it. And she's just like throwing things around the room. And she tells her dad that he can't boss her around, can't control her, and that Daddy's Girl is a fucking monster. The song is honestly very iconic, very much a mood often. And then freaking Nathan slaps her, and she passes out. And then Roddy is checking out his new wig in the mirror because I guess he's losing hair due to his illness. And Paris Hilton comes in because she's been maimed, and she's like, I can't go on and sing tonight. I'll be the laughing stock of the stage. And she's so pissed at her dad, and she's like, I asked you to help me. And her dad's like, this is your fault. Happiness is not a warm scalpel. And her scalpel's even warm. I'm sure do they warm him up for plastic surgery, or are they really cold? So many questions I have. And Paris Hilton is just crying and saying that she's never going to sing again because she looks like a crime scene. And Roddy's like, all I ever do is give, 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 and all you ever do is take, take, take. And like, you spent 90 grand on surgery, and she changes her name, and she's like, I needed a stage name. And Roddy just like is pissed at her very coolly and says, you know what, your jeans aren't even worthy of mine. And then he like coughs up blood, and she's like, oh, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, whatever. I'll get a surgeon to fix you up. And she's like, thanks, Daddy. And then Roddy has this whole song about how gold makes the world go round. And that he just keeps insisting that people have forced him to be this awful. But I don't think that's that true. I think his kids are probably a reflection of how awful he is. And it's weird we never really know about who the mother of those children is. And I don't know, like, maybe some of the sickness, because he's sick, maybe that's going to his mind, but I don't know about it. But basically, Roddy wants to just leave Shiloh his legacy and kind of play all these tricks on his kids, which is very dangerous probably for Shiloh, because I'm not sure that his kids won't kill her, but whatever. Anyway, Roddy sends a bunch of people to fight the Repo Man, which is her dad, but he's trained. Shiloh sneaks out, and then there's an announcement over the speakerphones that they're looking for her dad, Nathan Wallace, but it's unclear if Shiloh hears that and basically like lie in the thing. They say they've been betrayed, which I mean, I guess that's not technically a lie. It's pretty much true. Definitely like a Green Goblin from Spider-Man struggle in this, where he's going to make Roddy pay but keep Shiloh safe. So then Shiloh wears her mother's dress to an opera, and pretty much Roddy is just basically like, no one is going to cost Jinko, not even the Repo. I love then the DJ opera one. It's so cool, and it's kind of got like a rave thing for the opera. I wish opera was more like this and less stuffy sometimes. Of just like, let's go have a good time and like go watch the opera, and it's like fun. Then we have a bunch of people who talk about how Jinko saved their life, where one person's liver was wrecked, but now they can drink whatever they want. One mom needed a kidney replaced, and now she like can flash her boobs on TV. And Jinko's got it if you want it. It's like this weird advertising. Honestly, very effective. I probably would have been sold. And then Roddy is leading Shiloh to her cure. She's in this like kind of cool Lydia Dietz funeral ground. And then we also see that Amber sings. She's just had surgery right before she goes on stage, but her face falls off when she's singing, and a bunch of people boo, and she like cries and run off. Honestly, probably like one of the most humiliating things that could happen on stage is to just like have your face fall off. Like, I don't know how you can come back from that. And then you have this beautiful scene of Blind Mag with the snow on the stage and this operetta song that I can't sing, but I know so many talented singers that could. And the snow and her lashes are so cool. It's not my favorite song of it, but it is like the staging of it is very beautiful. Also, I can't like shout out to Sarah Brightman for just wearing these contacts. They had to be intense. They look huge. She's like on a wire during the stage show. She got these super long nails. I didn't really super love how this was filmed, but it's fine. But I love, so powerful, because as a person who went through her own blindness struggle, when Mag goes, I would rather be blind. And she like takes these eyes, and all this blood gushes from her face from everyone, and then they cut her down from her wire, and she gets impaled on the fence, like literally just died in front of a live audience, and everybody is shook because it was her last show. And then Roddy comes in and is like, oh, don't panic, it's all part of the show, stay tuned for more excitement. They're like, there was this young girl, we're gonna cure her. She was caged by like a monster, by an overbearing father. We're gonna set him right for your viewing pleasure. Or Shiloh hits the Repo Man with a shovel because she thinks that he's against her, and then she sees that it's her dad, and oh, the music here is so great. Like the recognition of her face, and then the fact that he has the Repo Man, which is like, this is not the line you should say when you're in the wrong, but he's got a point. He's like, didn't I tell you not to go out? And she's like, you did. And he's like, didn't I tell you that the world was cruel? And he was like, you did. And he's like, go home and forget. But she's like, I want you to tell me why. And she says, you said that we were always different. And he's like, I am. And she's like, please say that you're not this person. And she's like, tell me what you to do. Like, you've told me everything is alive. What am I supposed to say? And he's like, and this is how you would help me? You're dead in my eyes. And she's like, someone else has replaced you. And just tells him to go and die. And he's like, I built a house and a home. I raised her all alone. And then he gets like more vengeancey, which is not helpful. Like, take some responsibility. You were in on this. But he blames Roddy, Mr. Nathan, because he thinks that he stole Shiloh, which women are not an object to be stolen, but alright, whatever. And he is like, so I failed as the father, so we'll just let the monster rise and the father die. And Roddy is so proud of Shiloh and says that she's exceeded all of his plans. Roddy announces to everyone that he's terminally ill. Shiloh still can't trust her dad because she thinks he's a monster. And then the truth comes out that he killed her mother, but it was an accident. And Nathan starts to kind of take responsibility that this was like his greatest failure. And they're literally doing this in front of an all audience, like way to like air out all your dirty laundry and do this like really intense confronting of trauma. And then Roddy reveals that the man who made her sick is her dad, and that he's been poisoned. Like basically all her medication is just poison to keep her sick, and this is really messed up. And she like can't breathe, and she doesn't even really believe Roddy. She like wants the medicine to feel bad because she like feels terrible without the poison. I don't know what he got her like addicted to, like some kind of drug that just like robs your body. And Nathan is like just crying out for someone to please help her, and Roddy's like, nope, nope, it'll pass, just fight it. And she's like having a panic attack on stage, and Nathan admits that he is the cause of all her sickness, and he was just like basically made her weak. And just all the lies for years, and the robbing of her life. And Roddy is just freaking out that Marnie promised to love him, and that because he loves Marnie that he's going to leave all of Jinko to Shiloh. And he's like, I will sign the paper over to you, just pull the trigger and kill your dad. And she's like, I am not a murderer. And like they argue that like, oh, but your dad is, right? Don't you have the genetics for it? But she's like, I don't have to show his choices. This is such a powerful thing. This is so powerful. And her dad is honestly like begging for death at this point. He's like, I poisoned you and I imprisoned you. I'm worse than Roddy. I drugged your blood. And but Shiloh, she's not having this. She knows Roddy is like the instigator. She's like, you used my mother, you used my father, you used me, and you deserve what is happening to you. And she was like, I needed you too, Dad, as much as you needed me. And obviously it wasn't done very well, but Nathan urges Shiloh to remember his mistakes because she can change. And he's like, sorry, I failed you, I love you. And he's like, make your life worthy of being remembered. And then a gunshot and all the lights go off, and then you see that Roddy shot Nathan. And then everybody's just whispering. I don't even know if they think this is a show or realize that it's real life. And then Roddy dies because he just had to kill one more person before he dies, because that's the kind of guy Roddy is. Such a charmer. And then Nathan hears Shiloh's mother calling her, and it's a great song of forgiveness. This last number, it's so beautiful. And I love the like one line of like, the people on TV were not like we were, which is, ugh, I just relate so much. And it's so beautiful that she still loves him, and that she finds understanding of his fucked up choices, because she knows that his intentions were good, which is the biggest part. And not only, I never know if I can even argue that for my own situation, but it is like something to keep in mind, is like, what was somebody's intentions, and if they were good, I think that's a great place to start for forgiving. And Nathan just is very honest with his daughter in his last moments, and he's like, sometimes I wish I was the one who died. And he's like, there's never enough time. And he says that Shiloh saved him even though like he's dying, and she saved him in his soul, and like by, I think, doing the right choice. And he's like, changed the world for me. We will always have each other in our time of need. Oh, it's so beautiful. I don't know if it's like Stockholm syndrome, but a little bit, because they say that like you're the world to me. But it's so sad. And then we have this kind of powerful number. It's not my favorite, but basically Shiloh comes to terms with resenting her years of heredity. And I love the line that, I've hated and loved you, I've hidden behind you, but finally I am free. And she's like, my legacy is not up to genes. It's basically up to me to change it. Oh, such a powerful, powerful message. Can't even talk about how powerful that is, even though I'm basically doing a film review. But the spotlight follows her out. It's such a badass moment. Then we don't know if that Jinko will survive, or if it's going to undergo surgery on the way that it goes, because the grave robber kind of sums up the story, since he was the one that kind of brought us to the story. He's kind of like the narrator of it all. Amber Sweet ends up getting her own company. Luigi murders the top three bidders of Jinko, and Pavi wins the auction of his sister's face. So all in all, this movie is very, very cool. I recommend that you check it out, because it's kind of the times, and there's a lot of good songs, and I feel like it doesn't get the credit that it deserves. It's a very underrated musical, but such a powerful message of forgiveness from a betrayal that is like almost, I think a lot of people would argue, well, yeah, you don't have to ever forgive your father for poisoning you. That was like a terrible thing to do. But just, it's crazy how misguided we can all be in our love. But hey, if you guys liked this video and want to hear more, please hit subscribe. And if you want. Right now I'm pretty much doing these for no money, and I'd like to do them for some money. So if you have something to give, even if it's like pictures or your time, or you want to be involved in the creative process, just kind of contact me below in any of the links, and I will get back to you. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Have a good one.